Dear friends, welcome to the July issue of the Geopolitical Review. We have with us Dr. Nanda Kishore, who will guide us through the various geopolitical developments. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, I feel Trump is in quarrel with each and every political leader today. How do you see this? With India, he is with a trade war. And if you see with China, his relations are going bad. If you see Iran, I don't know properly how to state it. And what's going on with Trump?
See, this is exactly the problem. See, I admire some of his components, especially looking at, let's say, his way of looking at business and other things. But the thing is, even when you are doing something good, at the end of the day, you need to remember who are your friends, who are your enemies. Now, across the spectrum, if you look in, United States does not have trusted friends. Those who they call themselves as friends, they are all the ones who would want to gain something or the other from the United States. In the sense, they may fizzle out any point of time if somebody else comes in. But that's not the case with country like India. So people were okay when the United States had problem with China, because China was humongous presence in the United States. China was also into cyber warfare, snooping. There are umpteen number of issues from 5G to everything. That's understandable. But what has India done? India has stood by the United States for a very long time. The relations were cordial. And then over and above, you start putting tariffs, and then you say India is a tariff king and all those things. You make all sorts of statements. On top of it, you also said that we have no sense of climate change. We have no sense of many other things. So this is going now a bit overboard. That means he's unable to understand his friends and his foes. So he'll probably ruin everything if he continues to do the same way. But somehow there are some people within his own system who are able to control this and then tell him certain things. So slowly it's coming down after a bit of snub that the Prime Minister did in Osaka in G20. I think it's comparatively better. But I think the signaling from India's side was also important, because when they put the tariff, we also retaliated and we gave back. Now that's an amazing factor. We have shown our spine. But unfortunately, Mr. Trump has to realize at this juncture, if this is the way he is going to fight internally, externally, all the time is going to be in conflict, probably this is not going to end up in a good way. All his NATO friends are also angry with him. One, because of his very way of behaving with them. Second, he's making them to spend more. He's abusing them. So that's not a good strategy. You started off well, but probably you have lost in between.
He also doesn't want India to purchase S-400 from Russia. And on the other side, he has also given the NATO ally status to India, even though law might not have been passed until now. Mm-hmm. But what's this
No, it's been done by the Congress. Now, the good part and the bad part of the story I can tell you. The good part of the story is almost a decade ago, Pakistan got this.
Is it?
So it makes no difference as such. One. Second, India was allergic to a word called ally. We will say friends, we will say partners, we will use such type of words. We never say ally. Ally is a lot to do with a military bloc and such other things. So NATO is a military bloc, Atlantic Treaty. So in that scenario, we were allergic to a word called ally. But at least of late, now when the United States has said, India is signaling to say that I'm okay with that particular word. Now I think we are trying to break the shells and come out of it and say, yes, we need allies. Now that's probably closer to what a Chanakyan state is about. Right? Chanakyan state in his Saptanga, one of the last components that he talks about as the seventh one is about an ally. So having a good ally is also important. Powerful ally rather. A trustworthy ally is very important. So in that perspective, if United States is doing that one amidst all these things, it's a good signal. Because for Pakistan it did not make difference, because Pakistan wanted budgetary allocation. Pakistan wanted aid. So theirs is a different story, because they were already part of a military bloc before. CETO, CENTO and all those things. But we were never party to any bloc, because we were non-aligned, we were normative power, we wanted to hold on to that idea of being neutral and all those things.
Russia has been our all-weather friend, but will this ally status affect our relationship with Russia?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Even Putin is aware what this is up to. That's one of the reasons why a stream of meetings that Mr. Modi had, and more specifically with the RIC leaders, that means Russia, India and China. So this is part of the BRICS, but they know that the RIC is much more powerful. So they have had all this understanding. So it's not going to be a major case of concern. Putin understands India's perspective. India also understands that one. That's why we pushed forward the S-400 deal, and we wanted to seal our better friendship because they have stood by us when we were in a time of crisis. United States has come to us because United States thinks now we are powerful. United States think there is a future. That is the reason they have come. Otherwise, we were called as estranged democracies. There is a book by Dennis Cox. It's called Estranged Democracies. Till 1990 or till 1991, because we had not opened up our economy, we were a closed economy. United States never thought we were a good this thing. And moreover, Indian leadership was also tilted a bit more towards the socialist bloc or the socialist ideology, due to which we were struck. So we were not all-weather friends, but at least the Russians have stood by us. Russians have helped. So India will never sideline the Russians, and we will continue to have. That's why India has made it very, very clear. Come what may, we will go ahead with our S-400.
The Americans want more sanctions on Iran, and how will this impact our relationship with Iran, and what about the oil prices?
Not exactly. Now what India is trying to look at is alternate sources of energy. Now what United States would say is, we will make sure that the Saudis will pitch in for the amount of oil that you're buying, and there are others whom we can ask, or we ourselves can pitch in. That is what they're trying to say. But unfortunately, India has had a very, very long relationship with Iran. So we would not want to disturb that equilibrium also. India is trying to bargain somewhere and trying to say that now if 40% of our oil or the energy resources are coming from Iran, at this juncture suddenly telling just because you have a problem, this is very problematic, because you have a friend with whom I am not a friend, and I am forcing you. I am good with you, you are good with me, but I am unnecessarily bringing a third person and forcing you that you don't talk to him. Now that's not probably a good idea in diplomacy. Let's say if we understand that Iran is a problematic power, if we understand Iran is something else, then we can do it. But unfortunately, simply just for the factor that you are more close to Israel, you don't want Iran to be doing something if you make it problematic, that's not a good idea. Because once upon a time, they told us also not to become a nuclear power. Once we became, they started accepting us. This is coming from what we call as the London Club, or what we call as the elite groups, who think that they can handle nuclear weapons, but not the others. Now that's sort of a caste system in international. So this is typical caste system in the international politics, where you say now we are from the upper creamy layer, so you don't touch us, or you don't even come closer to us, but we will dictate what you want to. We will give you security coverage and other things. So that's not a fair way of looking at things. But at the same time, Iran is a problematic power. On certain accounts, it's the sponsor of terrorism. No doubt Hamas, Hezbollah, all these things are supported by Iran, and Iran has been into proxy war in Syria too. And Iran is for sure creating trouble on different occasions. It tries to put its hand in Bahrain. It does so many things. It's not to say that, but you have to counter them on those issues. You can't tell them just because you are this, you are going to be a bad power, you are going to be a rogue state, you are going to be and ask everybody else to snap ties. That's not a way of actually maintaining diplomatic relations.
This whole month, Trump is making noise. One more initiative of Trump was meeting the North Korean leader in the demilitarized zone.
Yeah.
So how was this move taken in a global arena?
See, the second meeting was a failure. The second meeting was inconclusive, where Trump thought at this juncture he can actually push for too many things, because Bolton suggested him that now let's become a little more bellicose or belligerent. Now that's not a good way of looking at it. See, you have called for a meeting, a peace accord. You want to come for a particular deal. Now that cannot be too much of asymmetry. You slow and steadily bring them to. See, North Korea is behaving extremely normal these days. They are trying to ease out with Chinese. They are trying to ease out with others. He is ready to visit to different places. He has been to Russia. And one need to understand here also that if you push the cat too much, or if you try belting the cat too much, at one point of time it will bounce back. That's what the North Koreans are trying to do, because they have been supported by the Russians as well as the Chinese. Why will on earth they will go down to everything that the Americans are requesting? So there has to be something else that Americans have to keep in mind more than their ego. They need to make sure that that region remains peaceful. They should keep South Korea in mind. They should keep Japan in mind, and make sure that a peace deal is arrived. You don't want them to become a nuclear power, you don't want them to remain as a rogue state, well and good. But don't push them too much into where they would become a puppet regime, that they should listen to you and everything. So that's not the thing. But again, he has resumed, and it has happened in a flash. Nobody actually anticipated it. Happened in a flash, and he has pulled it through. Now these are the credits that Trump should take and put it in more positive perspective, not behave like a bully. Right? You might be might, but that does not mean you are right. The might is not always right. So one needs to keep that in mind. Treat them on par. Don't treat them like a pariah. So that probably will solve the problem. So it's very interesting. They should carry on. They should carry on and normalize North Korea for the sake of that whole Asia Pacific region itself, especially Northwest Pacific.
We had a G20 Summit in Japan. So there were many video clippings shown in the social media where the interaction of Manmohan Singh with other leaders and interaction of Modi with other powerful leader was compared. And I think is Modi trying to play with the visual order and showcase himself as that he is one of the leaders to be noted now? Is it a deliberate attempt, or he is like that and the world is accepting him like that?
No,
Or he is playing with the visual order?
No, he is partially. There is a 20% the visual this thing, the where he wants it to be shown that he is very hardworking and he is actually trying to do with a lot of leaders, irrespective of the stature and other things. But the remaining part is also, now the second term mandate is very, very clear. They have to boost the economy. That means you have to talk to more parts, you have to bring investments, you have to have more relations, and you have to diversify your own interaction with different leaders. In that way, there is a sincerity in doing that one. Perhaps he must be the only leader who had bilateral meetings with so many countries, and he has not spared anyone. He has been one behind the other, he has been having. Now that's a tireless effort. And on the other hand, you have your foreign minister who is well versed with everything. He has been a foreign secretary. He is doing his bit. He has his own friends, so whom he can bring into board. I think this is a combination of Jaishankar's acumen in foreign policy, where he is able to bring some of his old friends who have been in great positions now, and then have a meeting with Prime Minister Modi, bring a lot of things on table. I think economy is the trumping factor as of now. So that's why he is putting that effort. But for sure, there is also a photo op component. I don't completely deny. He wants to probably showcase himself as larger than life sort of a personality. That is for sure there. He has that desire, and in a way it is good, because at least that will drive him.
And India needs it.
And India requires that stature. You can't anymore be a second grade power. If you want to be a great power, if you want to be, or if you're aspiring to be a superpower, you need to exhibit certain things, you need to signal, you also have to be ready to take up responsibilities. You can't always be a reactionary power. After something happens, then you will react. No, that's not going to be. You need to jump in wagon and do something very important.
Sir, in the end, what's there in waiting for us for might be August month? Any significant events coming up in the geopolitical arena?
Oh, now some of the components that we can look is what Prime Minister is going to travel, where he is going to travel. One, how our relations are going to pan out with the United States. Very important. This particular deal is also equally important. At the same time, we are anticipating a lot of foreign direct investments. So that's going to be the major focus arena. And I think for all good, we have put Pakistan aside now, and it's not anymore a major case of concern that we need to worry. And to a large extent, they have told the liberals, I think, in this country, saying that let's not unnecessarily give too much of attention to them. Ignoring them is a better solution than unnecessarily pampering, talking and all those things. Though we need to talk, but certainly not talk when things are not in our conducive condition. You can't always keep getting stabbed and then you keep talking. So that's going to be one important thing. But United States is curious case. United States is going to be playing very major role. And United States should think at this juncture that India is an all-weather partner. India should be taken on board to do certain things that are good for the world, rather than again confronting the way United States is confronting with China. That's not a good thing. They should see us as an alternate. They should use us to take things or the relations into a better level.
Dear friends, with this we come to the end of the July issue of Geopolitical Review. As we discussed, most of our June month was about Trump and how he has interacted with the whole world. Then maybe our Prime Minister Modi ji, how he interacted with the whole world, the G20 Summit and so on. Let's see how the August month would be, or rather the remaining part of the July month would be, but we will be discussing this in the month of August. That would be post budget. Let's see how good this budget will be to revive our economy, and how will it impact the geopolitical scenario as such. Thank you, Dr. Kishore. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have